It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman. On a beautiful Thursday, set for 70 degrees, a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving. You gotta love it. We are locked and loaded today on the broadcast when President Trump reaches the microphone in front of the cameras. Today, we think in the Oval Office, but I'm not exactly sure. It'll be at the White House. A big announcement is what they're saying at 10 a.m. Kansas City time, so it's already 5 minutes late. When it happens, we will immediately go to it. You don't have to worry about looking anywhere else or going anywhere else. Keep it right here on KCMO Talk Radio. Mark Van Sickle at the controls today is a savant, and he will have that for us. We got a lot to talk about on the show today, including, did you see the Kansas Attorney General, Chris Kobach, arrested a mayor, the mayor of Coldwater, Kansas? The day after the election, they charged him with fraud. The day after being elected mayor, they charged him with fraud. We'll fill you in on that story as the show goes on today. Oh, Nancy Pelosi is gone. What are we going to do without Nancy? She made her $120 million and left. Apparently, the insider trading is dried up under Trump, and there's no reason to stay around. So she is out. She is not running for re-election. You're going to get so sick of hearing Nancy Pelosi stories and documentaries and everything else over the next year. Blah. Just ignore it. We know what that windbag is all about. Her swan song will mean nothing to me. She was Speaker of the House for 8 years. She was there 4 decades. Nice little, tidy little career in Washington, D.C. What's happening in London, I think what we're going to learn over the Mamdani years, whatever has happened in London is about to happen in New York. I believe that. You won't believe the latest crime trend in London and what they're doing to try to combat it. It has nothing to do with the police or anybody helping you. This is on you. They have a campaign out there in London and other cities in England, other cities, on how you can keep from being robbed on the street. I'm not making this stuff up, man. You can't make it up. And shocking, incredible television rating numbers for CBS on Sunday and Major League Baseball's Game 7. We now have the global numbers for baseball. Just ridiculous how live sports continues to dominate television ratings all across the country. We will start today with the tariffs. When Donald Trump put his hand on the Bible last January, our effective tariff rate in the United States from other countries was 2.5%. What we brought in with tariffs was roughly 2.5% of everything we imported. Today, that average stands at 17.9%. As you can tell, that's sevenfold, pretty much, almost eightfold, I guess. That is a great improvement, and we've seen the substantial money that has come in. I don't know why anybody would be against this unless it led to inflation, which to this point, it hasn't done. Inflation's lower than it was a couple of years ago. That doesn't mean things are as cheap as they were. Folks, this expectation, Trump has botched this. The Republicans have botched this. The expectation of the American people is that prices are going to fall. Now, we've seen that with gas. We've seen it with a few things. Would help if electrical bills were down and things like that, and they should probably get there. I think they will. But the real relief people are looking for is the grocery store, their property taxes, the things that they have to pay, income taxes, whatever. They want more money in their pockets. Prices don't really come down. It's a very rare industry that someone will just say, okay, let's just, it doesn't cost us as much anymore. Let's just bring them all down. Your competitor has to do it first. And as much as we love competition and capitalism in America, the fact of the matter is, in most industries, let's say I got a buddy who is in the sign business, sign supplies. The big metal beams and pieces and then the all these different things that go into signs. They've got like 2 real competitors nationwide. The company's right here. It's called Ambrose. It's right here in Kansas City. And they're great at what they do. But they really only have a couple of competitors nationwide. They're currently working on a bunch of projects with the Buffalo Bills Stadium, for example, with signage and things like that. They don't make the signs. They provide the supplies for the signs. Well, honestly, if you're Ambrose, are you going to lower your price if your competitor doesn't? I don't think you do. if things get cheaper because of transportation, because of energy, whatever. So this expectation that Americans have that everything's going to come down is nuts. What we need to look at is the rate with which it's going up and how slow that is. And right now, there's no real giant warning sign of inflation because of tariffs. So the tariff thing, except for the border is Trump's signature play. There's no question about it. Deportation, closing the border and deporting people is his signature play, and that's very important. Did you see the stats on the Mamdani election? If you were born in New York City and voted on Tuesday, you voted for Cuomo 50-38. If you moved to New York City or arrived in New York City after Joe Biden was sworn in, 5 years. If you had been there in the last 5 years, you're new. 85% Mamdani, 14% Cuomo. This was an open border takeover of New York City. It's exactly what it was. Nothing more, nothing less. So that's Trump's signature thing. Get these people out of here. And we better get serious about it. The number two thing has been tariffs because it's been going on now for 10 months, basically. Tariff. All the shock and awe with the stock market, that's all leveled out. The stock market's all-time highs. Everything's good. We're bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars a year in tariffs. It's helping offset the deficit. We made a profit in September. They're going to report very shortly that our federal government, made a profit in October. Pretty sure that's going to be the case, especially not paying government employees. That has to help. All these things add up. And now the Supreme Court's going to take this away. I have great certainty based on what I heard yesterday in the 3-hour hearing that this could be a 9-0 decision against Trump on the tariffs. So I'm panicking. I'm doing the old, radio boy panic. Oh, no, I can't believe it. We put all this time and effort in. These tariffs are so great. We're bringing all this money in, and inflation really hasn't happened. This is great. And now the Supreme Court, Trump's own people, are going to take it away from him. John Roberts is right there. Who's going to pay the tariffs? Gorsuch is like, well, what if this? And as Pete finally chronicled earlier today on Monday in the morning, what if a different president comes in and wants to impose a 50% tariff on gas cars because he says it's global warming? They're clearly voting against Trump. And it's good. They're going to shut this down. This is happening under something called the Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977. So what do the media do? They get excited. The people on the left are excited. They're like, this is the end of Trump. This is great. The tariffs are going to go away. It's over. Trump's, some people will call it signature. It maybe has gotten more attention than the border. I don't know. Is going to go away, and this is great. We're awesome. And so what do? They go out and they start interviewing professors, law professors, constitutional professors, congressional professors, and they come across Georgetown's trade law professor, Kathleen Clausen, and some other people. These are all liberals. They go straight to their liberal sources. And what do? They get the story they don't like. This is why you're not hearing the story. They get the story they don't like. Here's what a liberal law professor, trade law professor at Georgetown University said, quote, I'm pretty convinced he will rebuild the tariffs using other authorities, unquote. And then she goes on to cite 4 other congressional acts over the last 200 years that Trump can use to keep the tariffs rolling in. This was his first play on the chessboard. I just chatted with Pete during the break. I'm like, well, if there's 4 other ones that maybe are more solid cases, why use the one of 77? Well, it's called the Emergency Economic Powers Act. Trump loves economy, loves numbers, loves business. This is when Carter was president. They probably love citing something from when Carter was in charge. We're just using what Carter gave us. I can think of a lot of good reasons why they picked that one. But if there's one out there that's more solid and will be held up in the Supreme Court, that's what they should have used. This one requires basically the absence of Congress. And so what the Supreme Court is deciding is, can the president do this without congressional approval? Or do tariffs belong to Congress? Again, there are other types of things. There are trade barrier laws that have been put in place, trade laws, trade deficit laws. There's all kinds of things out there that Trump can use to keep the tariffs going. I am heartened today to be the first to tell you that it is believed by most liberal trade law professors at universities and constitutional scholars around the country that they believe there's nothing that's going to stop Donald Trump from getting his tariffs. That makes me feel better. Now, I don't know that for myself, and I'm not sure I trust these people. But they're saying it, so I feel a heck of a lot better. But I don't think there's any question. Scott Bessent's running around today saying, I feel really, really good. Supreme Court's going to see it our way. Really? Did you not hear the questions they were asking yesterday? You can tell which way the Supreme Court goes by the questions they're asking. Who pays this tariff? A Republican, a conservative-appointed justice. Well, what happens if another president comes in and says they want a 50% tariff on gas cars because of emergency global warming measures? Well, they're getting ready to shut Trump down. They are. So we'll see what happens next. They brought in hundreds of billions. There were a lot of questions asked by the Supreme Court in this hearing yesterday about what do we do with the money that's already come in? Well, now, isn't that our federal government apparatus in a nutshell? We've finally gotten all the way to the final answer, the Supreme Court, and now we're like, well, what about this $350 billion we have? We got to give that back. No, you don't give it back. Anything before the ruling stays. Period. Why would you give it back? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but that's what SCOTUS is asking. How are we going to give it back? The answer, well, it'll be pretty messy, but I guess we'll try. I don't know. We're not really sure. We haven't thought about that. I just tell them what the Democrats would tell them. Hell, it's already been spent. We can't give it back. We're broke. We're $34 trillion in debt. We can't give anything back to anybody. Sorry, we're not good for it. There are no refunds today at the Bank of the Treasury. We're not allowing it. 913-408-7957 is the number to call. Maybe you have some thoughts on the tariffs or any other topic that's on your mind. Feel free to call the show and join right in here during the break. We'll line you up, take your calls. We've got a lot of great topics ahead. This is Uncanceled. We're monitoring a live event from Donald Trump with a big announcement at the White House. We will take it live as it starts. Do not worry, even if we're in commercial break, we'll go right to it, so stick around. Uncanceled is underway. Well, there's really some disturbing news on that UPS plane crash that happened in Louisville 2 days ago, where the crew were killed. There's still 9 missing. Several have died. At least 7 have died. 9 missing. That plane was leaving Louisville, UPS for Hawaii, 38,000 gallons of fuel. We have now learned that airplane, which is quite old, I think it's close to 30 years old, had done maintenance. It was grounded for 6 weeks in September with a crack in the fuel tank. They said they fixed it. It had flown several flights since then. The left engine was on fire at takeoff and actually fell off before the crash. The engine fell off the wing. That's not a normal engine fire. It almost feels like it was coming from the fuel tank. You could see that huge fire. That plane was just on fire as it was trying to lift off the ground. That's just horrific. Terrible. UPS on their part is saying, hey, it was up to date and it had not been worked on that day. It was delayed 2 hours that day, but it could be for anything. They could just be loading the plane, delayed 2 hours, whatever. But UPS saying all of the maintenance on it was up to date. I don't know. I don't know how old is too old of a plane, and I don't know things that should end a plane's life, but it seems like a crack in a fuel tank should be either a whole new fuel. That doesn't sound like something you ever repair. Could be wrong. I don't know that I'd want to fly on an airplane that had repaired a cracked fuel tank. Not a fuel line, a tank. Terrible story. Dateline Coldwater, Kansas. Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach has filed fraud charges against Jose Ceballos, who is the mayor of Coldwater. The mayor of Coldwater, Jose Ceballos, is legally residing in the United States, but is not an American citizen. Apparently, when he filled out all the forms to run for mayor, he claimed he was an American citizen, or you have to be in order to run and win. And he's now charged with fraud in the state of Kansas and facing 5 years in prison for this. Folks, we're seeing this everywhere. I just saw there was another big city mayor we got non-citizens running and winning all over the place. There's only one thing we can do with these people: charge them and jail them as seriously as we possibly can and as long as we possibly can as a deterrent. We had the big hullabaloo with the Lenexa councilwoman earlier this year. More people than not that live in Lenexa believe that there is a non-citizen on the Lenexa City Council. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation was so confused by it all, whether she's a citizen or not, they asked the city of Lenexa to find out, who turned it over to the police, and very quickly in the matter just said, okay, whatever. She came in and said, oh, I'm a citizen, and they said, okay, yeah, there's nothing to look at, because they got a new liberal Karen mayor in Lenexa. I don't know. I don't know whether this woman is a citizen or not. My guess is she's not, just by the way everybody's reacted and how they've gone crazy over this thing and how none of it adds up. And the Kansas Bureau of Investigation doesn't know if she's an American citizen. How can the Kansas Bureau of Investigation not know if a woman that lives in Lenexa on the Lenexa City Council is an American citizen or not? If they can't tell, then the default position is she's not. Right? If old radio boy here was on the Lenexa Council and you asked the KBI, is he a citizen or not, they're going to go, unfortunately, yes, he is. We'd like him to leave, but, there's nothing we can do. He's got a Social Security number and everything. He was born at St. Luke's in Kansas City, Missouri. They'd be able to find that in 20 seconds. If the KBI can't find out if someone is a citizen or not, I think they're probably not. This is happening everywhere. What are we going to do with these people? Thank you, Chris Kobach, for going after this guy. And I'm sure Jose's a great guy, and it sounds like the people in his community like him. They elected him. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Jose, except, what are you doing, dummy? You want to run for mayor? Get your citizenship first. Get in line. Go get your citizenship. You're welcome here, and we'd love for you to be the mayor of Coldwater, Kansas. I'm going to guess there's not a lot of people beating the door down to become the mayor of Coldwater, Kansas. Thank you for stepping up, wanting to serve your community and your people. You got to be a citizen. This is what happens when people break the law. I'm not saying he did, but when people break the law coming in, they don't think much of breaking the law once they're here. Just think about that for a second. If you were the kind of American that broke your way into Mexico, I'm not talking about vacation on a passport, staying at Sandals or something. You're breaking your way in. You're down in Tijuana. You're jumping over a fence. You're in, baby. I'm in, man. I'm in Mexico and I'm here illegally. This is awesome. If you're that dude, you're likely there to be for bad reasons. And you're probably going to commit more crimes while you're in Mexico than just jumping their fence and going into Mexico. God, the whole thing is crazy. Dateline London, England. Mind the grab. That's what they're calling it. Billboards everywhere. You know those the signs they put on the sidewalks? I don't know if what they're exactly made of, nylon or whatever. They glue to the ground. They've boogered up all the streets of London and many other cities around England with blue chalk signs and the kind that you tape to the ground, letting you know when you're in a mind the grab zone. What is a mind the grab zone? Tens of thousands of phones have been stolen from people walking the streets in England. There are areas where it's very easy. They do not prosecute you. As you know, the iPhone Pro is $11.99. You're holding it in your hand, somebody steals it, you got to go dish out another $1,200 to get a new one. These are not considered violent crimes in London. Oh, it's just people who probably need something. They need the phone so they can eat. They're stealing it from you so they can feed their babies. Oh, you better believe this is coming to New York. Remember a few years ago, the very first thing we heard about London? Stabbings. Because their laws are different if you commit a knife crime than a gun crime. New York, New York. Pay attention. Whatever's happening in London is coming to New York. I feel sure about that. So if you're traveling to London, watch for the signs. Mind the grab. They will bump you. They will grab your phone. They might knock you to the ground, and they will take it. Uncanceled continues. We're still monitoring the live news conference with Donald Trump that was supposed to start 28 minutes ago. It has not. We'll check in on it next on KCMO. Welcome back to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. Not sure about this Trump thing now. I'll be honest with you. They usually keep a little bug up on Fox News. It says awaiting. It does. It says soon Trump announcement, but it says soon. It was supposed to start at 10. It's 10:34 as we speak. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what may or may not come of it. We talked about Jose Ceballos, the mayor of Coldwater, Kansas. They've concluded a news conference in Topeka with Chris Kobach and Scott Schwab, and they are really upset that this mayor of Coldwater has voted in elections the last few years as a non-citizen. And that's what their big news conference was about more than anything else. that it will not be tolerated in Kansas. We need more states like Kansas. Kansas needs to do more things like Missouri, clearly, but you just can't tolerate people that aren't citizens being able to vote in our elections. My question is and I think Kobach has done his job. The voter ID laws are really good and very strong and all those things in the state of Kansas. This is a non-citizen with a Kansas driver's license that just shows up and gives an ID and is allowed to vote, or how does it work? Does Kansas issue driver's licenses to non-citizens? Is there not a declaration on said driver's license that you're not a citizen? I got a million questions on this because I thought Kansas was pretty secure and I felt really good about it. But if it's happening in Coldwater, you better believe it's happening in the Kansas City area. A lot. It would be much easier to get away with something in one of these big voting centers than it would be in Coldwater. Although I guess in Coldwater, if you know the guy sitting there, he doesn't care. He's your buddy or something. I don't know. But these are really important things. I know we're focused on communists winning mayor races and all these other issues we have going on. Tariffs is a big thing. We'll see what Trump's big announcement is today or what it is that he wants to talk about. We'll find out at some point today whenever he starts on that. But honestly, I can't think of a whole lot, and clearly it's tied to our borders and immigration. I can't think of a whole lot more important or that bothers me more than my vote being canceled by somebody that's not a citizen. I mean, it just sticks in my craw. It makes me sick. So this guy, the last few years, every time I've gone and voted, let's assume that he's not a Republican, okay? He's just negated my vote. I can think of nothing that bothers me more than that that's not a physical crime to me or somebody in my family or something like that. But think about that just as a concept. We're here. We've paid taxes our whole lives. We were born here. We're the one percenters. Hey, we're lucky. If you're poor in the United States by world standards, you're not poor. You're lucky to be here. We're all lucky to be born here. But we were. It's our birthright to be an American citizen. And when people come in and commit fraud and start voting in our elections that are not citizens, I can't stand it. I can deal with it a little bit when it's California, but it still doesn't seem fair because they're voting for presidents and senators and things that affect my life. There's no question that millions at this point, I'm sorry, there's just no question, millions of Democrat votes have been cast by people that are not citizens of this country. There is zero doubt in my mind. None. And it doesn't take just finding something like Coldwater, Kansas, but if this becomes the example and the rest of the country starts looking at this, we're now going to have what? Red states where they go find these people and charge them. There's not enough prison cells for all the people that voted illegally. You know the answer for this man, don't you? ICE. He needs to go from being the mayor of his community where he's lived as a lawfully abiding resident of the United States to being sent home to where he's a citizen. He needs to be deported, and fast. This one should be very easy. Once you prove he's not a citizen, and once you prove he voted in elections, goodbye. You're gone. How else are you going to stop other people from doing it? There has to be a deterrent. You have to make an example of people. I don't think this should be some big dog and pony show. I don't think this should drag on in Kansas and have a trial and a prison sentence and all that. He needs to be on an airplane fast. Let's get ICE in here and turn it over. I'm pretty sure he voted in the presidential election last November. Isn't that then a federal crime? Not just a Kansas crime? And isn't that ICE? Isn't that exactly what ICE does? I don't know. I got more questions than answers for Chris Kobach, and I didn't get to hear the whole news conference, but these are the things we voted for, folks. They got to go. This man's got to go. I think what an unbelievable lesson. You just went from winning mayorship to being deported. You deserve it. Isaac is on KCMO Talk Radio. Good morning, Isaac. What's up?
Good morning, Kevin. This whole Coldwater non-citizen voting thing, I'm with you 100%, 105 if such thing exists. But I've been arguing about this for 3 years now. I've been written multiple letters to different legislators. I've even talked to Kobach about this. Of course, he was in a hurry. I only had 5 minutes. But yes, if you cannot prove that you are a citizen, then the default is you're not.
Right.
And that should be super simple. I mean, if you walk into a liquor store, you cannot say, I attest I am 21 years old.
Right.
They're not going to sell it to you.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm fired up about this.
I am too. You're exactly right. You go in to buy a 12-pack of beer, and you can't prove you're 21. The default position is you're not. Sorry, we're not selling it to you.
Correct.
You're out. This guy clearly is not a citizen. They're not arguing that he was. They're not saying he was here illegally. That's what
right.
for an example case, this is a good one because there's a lot of people that have, I won't say they've assimilated, but they've integrated within communities. They've lived here a long time. They've done just enough paperwork to stay legally here, but they don't really want to be Americans. They just want what America does for them. And they love their home country. They wave Mexican flags or wherever they're from. This is their thing. When there's a soccer match and it's USA versus Mexico, it's Mexico. Hey, look, Vinny Pasquantino of the Royals is going to play for the Italian baseball team in the World Baseball Classic. But whatever, that's kind of a ruse. This sort of thing to me is they have no intention of becoming Americans. They don't want to be Americans. They just want to be here and use this system to their advantage for whatever period they decide, and then they'll go home. And maybe they want to be buried on a hill near where they were born and go back to their family at some point. It's an extended vacation. We can't allow this.
No, we can't. And not only if a non-citizen votes, they don't technically cancel your vote. They dilute everybody's vote because the vote's anonymous.
Yes, I'll take that as correct. We're saying the same thing in a different way, but yes, you're right.
Right.
You're 100% right.
If you dilute everybody's vote, then you abridge everybody's vote, and that's a constitutional violation.
There's no doubt. I mean, this should be one of the fastest deportations ever. All you got to do is show that he voted in the presidential election. That's federal election fraud. He's a non-citizen. Goodbye. Anybody they find in America that is not a citizen that has voted needs to get their ass on an airplane or a bus or a train and be gone. Period. Gone. Fast.
Yeah, preach it. Preach it.
All right, Isaac. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, bye.
And look, I understand we've been focused on violent criminals, drug traffickers. ICE has done a great job. We got hundreds of thousands of people that they've rounded up that have committed crimes. It wasn't one or two illegal aliens committed a crime in America. It's in the millions. Millions of them have committed serious crimes. And now we're on to, you can call this white collar if you want, but to me, it's not. I would rather, this is going to sound real, I may be in a huge minority here. I'm going to run the risk of sounding really bad. I would rather get bumped into on the street by an illegal alien and have them steal my cell phone than for them to cancel out my vote. That's how seriously I take voting. Our country, I mentioned this on yesterday's show or Tuesday's show before it was election day. Let's not forget why we're here. We're here because we didn't want a king. We didn't want a monarchy. We wanted to have representation. We wanted democracy to vote. We died for it. Our ancestors all died for it. A lot of people have fought for this and died for this. Voting's really important to me. I was no expert voting on Tuesday, and what I was voting for wasn't all that important. But if they're going to give you a chance to do it, do it. It's a responsibility as an American to take part. It's a responsibility to become at least a little bit informed and go vote. Even if you only have like one candidate, your city councilman, you got a guy or a lady you want to be your city council rep, go in and just put that one in and ignore all the others. That's fine. You did your part. You did something for our republic and for our democracy. This really peeves me. Mike is in Overland Park today on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, Mike.
Well, good morning. Hey, it's funny because I called Washington, D.C. to Mark Offer's office, and I recommended to them, do we really want people? I know that maybe, I don't know how the Constitution reads, but we have foreign-born people running for office here, even if they are citizens. And is there a danger what if we have an enemy that sends a bunch of people over here to run for office? They get elected, and then they take over a city.
I mean, I've got a word for you. You may not like this word, but I'm going to say it.
Say it.
Filibuster. You dump the filibuster, we can write any law we want. Right now, we can change election law, lock, stock, and barrel all across the country. There will be challenges that you can't tell a city or a county or a state about voting, but it doesn't hold true. I'm telling you, it will hold up. The feds have the right to do that. And if we do the filibuster, you can pass anything you want without the Democrats.
Okay, well, we need that. Can I add one thing to a concern of mine in New York?
Sure.
What if Mondani is going to drive down the price of real estate, and a lot of foreign investors are going to come in and buy up New York?
Well,
because of him, and maybe they're his friends.
I think a lot of that's happening.
Maybe that's why he's smiling.
Well, yeah, and there's been a lot of that happening anyway, with Chinese buying farmland and everything else.
But there's been more of that in New York, especially because, who said Trump Towers he's going to have to sell Trump Towers. Donald Trump, President Trump will. If you can't make any money with it, he's going to have to get out of it.
Pretty sure Trump's not going to sell Trump Towers.
Well, I hope not. But anyway, hey, thank you for your show.
All right, buddy. Appreciate the call.
Bye.
That's awesome. Here is John on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, John.
Hi, good morning. I've got a close-to-home situation. I live in Overland Park, and I investigated the mayoral candidates. One of them is Dr. Faris Farasati. I looked at his website, and he said he had permanent resident status. And it's like, okay, so you're not saying you're a citizen. You're saying you've got permanent resident status, but you're running for mayor of Overland Park. And I called the election board, and they said, well, he's registered to vote in the elections, so he's legal to run as the mayor. And I'm thinking, someone dropped the ball here. I think someone dropped the ball in Overland Park.
Man, I think if Faris Farasati is in the same position as this guy in Coldwater, I think we'd have known that, and I think Kobach would have been all over it.
Well, check his website. Check Mr. Ferris's website. And
you think he's not an American citizen? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, if he was an American citizen, why would he say on his website that he's only got permanent resident status? It doesn't make sense. If he's a citizen, he would naturally say that, but he only states that he has permanent resident status. I would urge you to check his website and then see if you have any questions about it. I do.
I'll tell you right now, if he's not an American citizen, they ought to grab him. Now wait. Running and voting are two different things. Okay?
That's right, but it's both illegal to vote if you're not a citizen, and it's illegal to run for mayor if you're not a citizen.
Kobach has made it abundantly clear that this mayor of Coldwater, Kansas, voting in previous elections was unqualified to vote and is absolute election fraud, up to 5 years in jail.
Yes.
But to me, it's deportation. Forget the jail.
Yes, I agree with you.
Deport,
100%.
flag, never allow back in. This is not the kind of person that's going to swim across the river to get back in here, okay? This is the person you put in the computer and you don't allow them to come back. You deport them and say you'll never be back here. You're done. You're done.
I agree.
Yep. And that's absolutely what we have to do with these folks. You just have to do it. You said, that's it. You broke no, we can't trust you ever. If you think you can swim across the river and get back, knock yourself out. But we're not ever allowing you back in. Forget about citizenship. You've been here long enough to run and win for mayor, and you didn't even bother to try to become a citizen? No go. James is in Olathe. Hi, James.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. I want to chime in on this filibuster. I think that the Republicans should definitely get rid of the filibuster for one reason, that the Democrats are going to do that themselves. But other than passing a national voter ID, I think it's critical that they pass a law that only legal citizens would count toward the census population regarding the Electoral College and also congressional representation. I don't think most citizens have any idea that was the law. And if they did know that and basically just wiped it aside, didn't care, then as a nation, we've lost the right of self-rule.
Well, look, I said earlier in the show, Mamdani won the other night because of the open borders. He won 85% of the vote of people that have been in New York 5 years or less. Well, that's open borders. That's people that have come in and gone straight for New York. and they just elected a communist because that's where they're from and that's what they know, and they want free stuff, and they think the free stuff in America is going to be better than the free stuff where they were. So that's ultimately what we're talking about. But you're 100% right. It's my understanding that the next census, are they doing one this year or next year? They ordered it's supposed to be every 10 years, but they're doing another one. Trump has ordered it done that it will be American citizens only.
Yeah, but just him ordering, that'll get tied up in court. I mean, I don't know what the law is. I heard the law was that every breathing person gets counted.
Well, first of all, a census doesn't even need to be conducted if we do American citizens only. That should all be in one computer somewhere in Washington, D.C. They've got every Social Security number in America, verify who's alive and who's not, and you've got your census.
Yeah. Well, again, other than voter ID, which is also critical, I think they should, the Congress should demand the Democrats bring 2 or 3 people, I don't care where you find them, testify in front of us as to why they can't get a voter ID and legally vote.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate the call. Uncanceled continues on KCMO. Vince Colonnese will be on Trump Watch next. When the Vince show comes up, they'll join it live and have it for you right here on KCMO Talk Radio, so stick around for that one. Mark Van Sickle joining us here to wrap up today's edition of the broadcast. Mark, you want to take a shot at how many people between Canada, United States, Mexico, and Asia watched World Series Game 7 on Saturday night?
Probably about 50 million.
Yeah, you saw the number, didn't you? Did you? Come on. Did you see the number?
What was the number?
51 million.
Oh, yeah.
It is the highest rated game in, what they say, almost 30, 40 years for a World Series game.
Makes
Amazing.
sense. It was a huge game.
That was some game. The Chiefs drew over 31 million for the Bills game on Sunday. They parlayed that into 14 million for 60 Minutes to see Donald Trump. That is the largest number for 60 Minutes since the pandemic. So people were watching 60 Minutes during the pandemic. And since 2007 for CBS in a Week 9 game, since they've had a number like that.
Pretty solid.
That's crazy, just setting them right and left. Okay, how about this one, Mark? What would you do here, buddy? You're a Chinese astronaut and you're stuck in space. Space debris hit you on re-entry, and there's 3 members in the capsule, and they're stuck. They think they can do it themselves, but shouldn't we be on the horn with them right now, offering help if they need it? It's the Chinese.
So. Yeah.
I mean, didn't Musk save NASA?
Yeah, he was able to send stuff up there.
SpaceX went up and got our people back, right?
Yeah.
So he did that. I feel like this is the one area that would be good for things that happen on Earth, is if we're all getting along in space and helping each other. Isn't that a good sign for humanity?
Yeah.
I'd like to see the call made by somebody
I'm
in the
with
United
you on
States. Hey, China, I don't know if you need help or not, but if you do, let us know. And Rico Dowdle, you familiar with this guy?
Yeah.
Carolina, right?
Yeah, former Cowboy, now with the Panthers.
He scored a touchdown Sunday, and he had a pre-planned celebration. He held 2 fingers in the air with both hands. And his teammates came over and said, 2 only. He kept saying, only 2, only 2, only 2. And what'd they do twice?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. They did the pump.
Oh, really?
Yep. They put a rule in. You can do it twice. We'll call it a dance. You do it more than that, it's a sexual act. And you will be fined. Because he organized it with his teammates, they fined him anyway.
No.
And he has started a GoFundMe page trying to raise $15,000 to pay the NFL for the pump fake in the end zone. The Vince Show is coming up next.